Pressure Washing Institute Contractors First. Hey, today I've got the pleasure of having Joe Everest in the house. But before I let Joe introduce himself, I want to make sure you guys all know, register for the free event. It's in July 20th and 21st. Joe's going to actually be presenting there, and we're going to talk about what he's going to speak about. And this is a great subject because so many people out there really need help with this subject. Even myself, I was able to learn some things from Joe back in Atlanta when I first met him last year in 2021 at the Young Guns event. He's got a really powerful presentation. We're going to obviously not be able to cover that in the next 20 or 30 minutes, but if you got some questions on some of the fundamentals and the basics, make sure you ask the question. We're going to give away some guidebooks. We're going to give away, guys, if they want the chemical of their choice, we're going to give them the opportunity to do that. Joe, give yourself a little introduction. Tell everybody who you are and tell them why you wear that crazy orange shirt.
Well, Ron, first and foremost, I appreciate you having me on. I always love interacting with you and your group here, your community. It's always a good time. Yeah, like you said, the last time we interacted in person was there in Atlanta at the Young Guns. I had a heck of a time. Your events are a lot of fun.
Gotta have fun, right? If you don't have fun, man, what good is it, right?
That's right. I'm really looking forward to the North Carolina event. No, so my name's Joe Everest. I'm a third-generation fencing professional. My grandfather started our business back in 1955. My dad bought it in the mid-'90s. I bought it from my dad in 2016. And when I did, we were trying to figure out how do we grow, right? We'd been on a plateau. How do we get our name out there even more without spending a ton of money on television, on radio, on billboards? How do we do it, right? At the time, social media was still in its infancy. So it had been around a little bit. This was after MySpace, but before Facebook really took off. And my dad, to his credit, gave me a Facebook budget to mess around on the platform a little bit. And I realized this is where people's attention are. And you can do it fairly economically. And so what I've been talking to contractors about lately is really upping their game and becoming their local brand expert by using live video, specifically Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives.
Yeah. It's the future, isn't it?
It really is. It's all the platforms want live content, to be clear. No matter which platform we're talking about, they all want it because they understand that people like to watch other content in real time. So live content is desired by all these platforms, and you really want to give them what they want because they will push out your content for free organically. That's why I'm a really big fan of live, because you can use a smartphone that you likely have on your person right now. Heck, you might even be watching this on it, and you use a platform that's completely free, whether we're talking about Facebook or YouTube. TikTok now is getting into the live game as well. So the cost of entry is incredibly low. You don't need to worry about having a computer to do editing on, to buy, expensive editing software, devoting a lot of your time on nights and weekends to editing your content. By going live, you're literally putting it out there as you produce it. It also makes you more relatable. So you're not editing out the ums and the ahs and the thing that makes you sound like a real person.
I try to tell folks that all the time. There's a lot of guys I mentor, and I mentor for free. I'll just throw that out there. I'm not a guy that charges for mentoring other people. I just love and enjoy doing it. It's kind of a give back to what the industry's given me kind of thing.
Sure.
And I don't down people that charge for it because, everybody's got to make a living. I mean, if people got to make a living that way, that's how they make a living. And truthfully, sometimes I always tell people, sometimes you better go get a paid mentor because I'm not going to answer the phone all the time, right? I mean, you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But I always try to tell these guys, they go out there and they try to do this big production thing. And I try to explain to them, back in the 90s, I spent like $25,000 making a video production deal. And one of my best videos, like you just said, was a live cleaning that we were doing with a drone on a restaurant that kind of went viral in a community of restaurant managers across the entire nation. And it was a video that worked. It performed. I mean, it performed better than any other video that we'd ever done, and that's when I realized, like, people they want the real thing. Nobody wants actors anymore. You don't want to see actors.
No, that's exactly right, Ron. I mean, think about yourself in your own life. If you watch a really polished video talking to you about a certain brand, you instinctively understand that that is a sales message. When I see a commercial come on with this guy driving a Mercedes through this city, I understand that they're trying to sell me that car. So a more appropriate or maybe a more impactful message would be someone talking about the benefits of the car or the benefits of the brand or how they support the community, something like that. But that's not the message they put out there. They want to say with a really nice, polished, safe message. And that's not really what people want. And I hope contractors understand that, in that people want raw. They want to form a connection with a person. And they understand that people aren't totally polished. Maybe some are, but I'm not, for one. They want to hear you say that, the ums and the ahs and the things that make you sound like a person, so that they can form a connection with you and through you, your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny how when you look at the stats on the big, we're talking about the big revenue, the three big networks, right? It's almost, when you look at the numbers, how much social media now has involved in basically the advertisement. It's blown up tremendously, exponentially more than network. And the network TV has actually lost, they've lost revenue share because, I mean, I don't mean to get into politics and stuff like that, but like, I don't really watch TV that much. I'm not a TV watcher. And when I watch TV, I feel like they're advertising to broke people. That's what I really feel like. I really do. Because you don't see those Cadillac commercials on TV anymore. You don't. Right. You don't see a BMW commercial on TV. You might get that in your news feed, on online. Yeah. But on the TV set, they're one, kids. They're the market for kids is big because kids are still, younger kids are still watching TV because because a lot of younger kids, they're trying to reach them because they don't have cell phones, right?
Right.
And so that if you start noticing that, you can see guys our age, the trend of how the advertising is working and how it's flipped. It's completely different. And you're right. It's an opportunity people don't realize, especially service contractors in this industry. And I hope there's one that's listening, and her name is Faith Shelton, and she does back guards. She's owned her company since she was 14 years old, Joe. 14. She's only, I think she's 19, maybe turning 20 right now. And COVID was tough on her. You know what I mean? It was tough for her to go through COVID, being a young person through the thing. And I'm trying to get the message out to her. She always wants to keep producing commercials. And I keep telling her, if you got out there, Faith, and just shot your guns in the middle of the desert and talked about your product, tell these people about your hobbies. They want to know who you are. I mean, that's the reality of it. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to be about, hey, buy this for $19.95. Who was the stick guy that, did the Oxy clean?
I know you're talking about the oxygen guy.
That's like a thing of the past. I mean, that's gone. They want to see people clean stuff. They want to see people stain stuff. They want to see that happening, and they want to really see it happening. They want to see you kick the bucket over and spill the stain. You know what I mean? I mean, that's it. Because like you're talking about, sometimes the mistakes and the bloopers are what builds the trust into people. Like, hey, man, this guy's real.
That's exactly right, Ron. I mean, people want to form relationships with other people. They don't want to form a relationship with a brand, right? So that's why you see all of these large national brands hire spokesmen or spokespeople or influencers is what we're now calling them, to represent their brand, because there's no one within the brand that is that face of the company, right? So, and that's one of the things I go into my talk is, there's a national brand that hired a really recognizable person, and they've paid them an absolute ton of money to represent their brand, because they understood from the beginning that was important, that people wanted to buy from a person, not really from a brand. So here's what solidified it for me, Ron. So I was doing these Facebook videos, these Facebook lives. I did Ask a Fence Guy Friday. So every Friday I would just get on with my phone, and wherever I was on whatever job site, and we'd just chat for a little while, usually 15, 20, 30 minutes. Well, then one day I went up to this lady's door, knocked on her door. I was there to give her a bid on her fence. She opens the door and she goes, you're the guy on Facebook that talks to me about fence. I said, yeah, I sure am. And I usually had a little skit. I said, here's the thing is I'm too cheap to hire anybody to do that. And if I did, They wouldn't look like me. And then we went around to the backyard and I said, well, man, we do things a little bit differently. We use cedar material instead of pine. She goes, yeah. You were talking to me about that a couple weeks ago. She kept referencing that I was talking to her about it because that was her reality, was that she saw this young fence guy on Facebook and she clicked on him and he talked to her about why this thing was important to her in her yard. That's when I realized I was just there to provide a budget and make sure that we could meet her budget. She knew who she wanted to do the work with. She knew what she wanted us to do for her. At that point, she just needed to know what it was going to cost. So we had already formed a relationship.
So this is interesting, right? Because the number one thing people say, well, the old school days of Zig Ziglar, they buy from who they like. Well, of course, the lady liked you. But here's the number one reason. She trusted you, because if she had never saw your videos, she would have never established all that trust to begin with, right? You would have just been that weird guy at the front door in the orange shirt.
Right. No, that's absolutely the truth. Is that was our way of establishing a little distance between us and our nearest competitors. I mean, we're in a smaller market, metro market of around 200,000 or so. Not huge, but we do have some competition here. She knew me. She didn't know the other guys coming to her door. So, I mean, it goes without saying, we ended up building her the fence. And that's, like I said, that's what solidified it in my mind that what we're doing is important and it's meaningful. And that was 6 years ago. So, I mean, imagine how much more important it is now and how much more meaningful it is now to really get ahead of it and get established in your own market.
Oh, it's big now, because here's the reason. Everybody has one.
Yes.
Everybody has one. Everybody's spending time on it. And what do we do now, man? We go out. If we're not in our own backyard, we're looking for the restaurant on the phone. You know what I mean? We're like, let's find a local restaurant on the phone. And it's funny because here we go again. Even the restaurants now, pictures aren't good enough. You tune on to their kitchen and you go, wow, that's their signature dish. Look at that. That thing looks delicious. And then they got a customer saying, man, I'm enjoying this thing. And they got 5 or 6 customers saying, hey, this is their signature dish and it's delicious. Well, heck, you're going to go try it. You're going to go give it a shot.
Let me give you a good example of that, Ron. So I was in Philadelphia giving a talk to an event out there, and I landed. I had some time to kill. I was waiting for Caleb and Michael that are coming out to TChem. I was waiting for their plane to land, and we were all going to ride together. I was scrolling Facebook, letting the wife know I was there and all that. And do you know an ad popped up of some local Philly cheesesteak place? And he's like, hey, I'm so-and-so from from wherever. And I got this Philly cheese. If you're coming to Philadelphia, if you've never had a Philly cheesesteak, you got to have this one. And that was it.
Did you get the whiz?
I got with whiz. Yeah.
All right.
But that is your point.
Yeah.
Right. That I was sitting in an airport in a town I had never been to. And I met this guy with his sandwich, and I wasn't hungry before, but I was ready for a Philly cheesesteak sandwich after that.
I did the similar thing in Orlando, but it was with a hotel, and I couldn't believe they got me. You know what I mean? And I was just like, okay, boom. And it was literally, the video came on. It said the next exit, because Facebook's really tricky in knowing where you're at. And boom, I pulled right off, and it worked. I mean, people don't realize, man, it's just so powerful now. It's a tool that you got to use. If you're a service company, guys, I'm telling you this right now, get to this dang event, because Joe, we're only talking here for 20 or 30 minutes, guys. He's going to power pack you with some strategies and some things that you never thought about. But here's one of the number one things he just gave up today: live video content.
Yes.
You're going to, just by being consistent with it, you're going to accidentally make something that's going to work. You know what I mean? That's really the truth. That's the truth. Because video that we made with that drone, it was an accident, complete accident.
Of course.
We were out there doing training videos. You know that, right? It was a training video. And we have a training video that we're trying to show, technicians how to do things properly. And we didn't realize the customers loved it, because they're like, oh, wow, sure, you're really training your employees properly. You're taking the time. We didn't even think that anybody doing this kind of type of cleaning did something like that,
Absolutely. But now, Ron, here's the reason why they're not going to want to do it. They're already booked up. Right? They're already busy. Why would they want to take more time and invest and spending time to learn how to do this, right? Like that's the number one pushback I'm getting right now is, Joe, I'm way too busy. I don't have time for this. I'll figure it out if I ever need to. The best time to dig a well is when you got plenty of water, right? So that when the day comes that there is a drought, you've got water on tap and ready to go. It's the same exact thing. The time to start learning this is now, when you can afford to take some time off, when you can afford to spend. There's courses out there that you could take. I'm not advocating that, but it can happen, right? Right now is when you can afford, through time and money, to figure this out, so that when the day comes and you look at your schedule book and you're like, oh, that's weird. I'm not 6 or 8 weeks out. I'm 2 weeks out. I could really stand for the phones to ring. Well, you've already been doing this video, right? You've already been doing this thing. You're already starting to have an audience built. The phones don't ring the day after you start this, right? The phones start ringing a few months after you start consistently producing that content. The best time to start is now, when you don't need it.
People don't realize that when you start talking about the marketing game, we see so many service contractors doing this. Yeah. They're busy, and then they're down here, and they flatline, and then they do the marketing again. Then they're busy again, but then they got no time to do the marketing. What Joe's trying to tell you guys is you can never turn the marketing off. You got to constantly be doing it. And to the guys that you're saying that are busy, just turn the camera on. Set it up.
Right.
Start washing the house. What's it take to start the live video, Joe?
Nothing.
10 seconds, 30 seconds,
yeah.
And maybe another 30 seconds to turn it off and make sure it's uploaded.
Well, here's an example I use is, so in the fencing world, there's several guys that are doing these videos now, but the best live videos are when they're walking around the project when it's done. They have to do this finish walk anyway to make sure all the rocks are picked up, and it generally looks like a great fence. So do a live video. Same thing with cleaning. You're going to walk the house anyway to make sure there's no streaks, make sure everything looks totally fine. Go live for that and tell your audience what you're looking for. Right?
Have you ever seen the guy that does the paver ceiling?
Yeah. Over in the UK.
Is that funny? And he goes, and he goes, and you can do it with this little, deal here as a homeowner, or you can have the Turbo 9000 for $150. And he turns to his truck. It's funny because he's showing them how they could do it themselves. But in reality, he knows the guy who really doesn't, look, you can sit there and tell me, this lawnmower is great and I could cut my grass so much quicker, but sure, I'm not mowing my own lawn. I mean, right. And people don't realize that the DIY videos, the do-it-yourself videos, they attract people, but they don't always just attract people that are doing it themselves. They're attracting the people that are looking to see who the guys are that know what they're doing, and then they go to hire them. And that's another one out there that's a misnomer. Guys always go, why are you showing the consumer how to do that? The guy that's going to do it himself, I could unclog my toilet, but I would much rather call a jetter and have him do the job, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I could change my own brakes, but I take a half a day doing it. I could pay somebody else to do it and make more money while I'm doing it. It's so crazy that these guys lose the focus on what this is all about. They really do.
And it's all on how you present it. Right. So you show them, hey, here's the exact process. Now I'm going to wet everything down. I'm going to protect everything. I'm going to take plenty of time to do this. And then I'm going to be really careful when I'm doing this, because here's some things I could really screw up. I could do this. I could do that. Water could get in the electrical outlets. I could fry this place completely. These are some, I got to be really careful. So that the audience at home is hearing this going, oh, I'm not going to do that. No. Here's some big things that could go wrong. This guy knows what to look for. He knows he's going to take all the precautions. He's going to do things right. He knows what to avoid. He's the guy I hire.
And then you hope you don't burn their house down, right?
Yeah, you better not. You better not.
No, but you're right. That is a good thing. Hey, man, we're just about that time, Joe, man. I just wanted to let everybody know we didn't get any questions, but guys, if you ask a question, a good social media question, I got a Power Wash guidebook, and I'm going to give like 4 people here in the next 10 minutes that ask a question. I'm going to give them the chemical of their choice if they're listening to the video live and they want to ask a question. Give us a question.
Yeah.
And
So there's a good one there, Ron.
Here's one right here.
Bingo. That's exactly what I was going to say. Do we now? Yeah, sure. We've got some great guys that do editing here and videography and that sort of thing. But you got to understand, when I was starting, it was literally here, right? It was this on a tripod, and I was just having a conversation. Usually it was front facing because I wanted to see the questions as they came in. So it was literally just me facing the phone, having a live conversation with my audience. And then we've grown that muscle, right? It's like running a marathon. If you ask me to run a marathon tomorrow, that's not going to happen. Now, to be fair, if you asked me to run one a year from now, that probably still wouldn't happen, but I'd be closer to it because I could work those muscles, right? So short lives, short videos are the way to go. And you start getting better at it. You start doing longer content. You start investing in equipment. Stabilizers is a good example. You could start outsourcing the editing. I would caution you against outsourcing it from the get-go. You want to understand what you're expecting someone else to do, right? You don't want to just put all of that faith in someone without really knowing what you're asking them to do.
No doubt. No doubt. I try to do okay. So I don't know how long I've been on YouTube since the inception. All my videos are uncut videos. They didn't have live back then.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Yahoo had live first. Nobody even knows that. But we used to broadcast the meetings live back in the 2006, 2007, and Yahoo had trouble and they had to get rid of their live platform. But we first started, and this is funny, in 1999, Joe, we would do the Yahoo chat that was recorded. You could record it live and you get on a bunch of them. And we would do those. And guess what we talked about? The first thing, wood. That was our first thing, is because back then our industry was it was bigger in wood back then. I mean, I know there's more wood guys now, but they were more focused on wood because the national associations knew that there had to be more education about wood. You weren't just going to teach somebody in 30 minutes how to do wood. You know what I mean? And so there was more focus put on wood, and guys like, you don't remember these names, but Chris Detter, Pete Marente, these are some of the guys that first started doing wood, log homes, teaching these guys. You know, the wizards out there, Everett Abrams, Everett. He's one of those guys. He wasn't in that original group, but he came in a little bit. He came in a little bit after them. And we were on Yahoo, what they called it back then. I think it was Mark Cuban's thing, the Yahoo Radio or whatever it was. And we were out there talking on those little podcasts about that stuff. I don't even know if those things are out there anymore. I don't even know if they still are there. But
they're somewhere. That was
my first encounter with doing this. So that goes back 23 years now. And then I hated it when I paid in the 90s all that money for that production video. I mean, I've got a video of me. There's one, I lost my temper. I don't know if you ever saw that one. I lost my temper and I was screaming. I was screaming at my guys because I was like, you got to get this right. I can't have a production crew come out. It's costing me $2,000 a day, and I was just like, we got to do this. After when YouTube came on, I just said, look, man, this is it. Smartphone. We're going to just do everything. If we screw it up, we screw it up. We're just going to put it up. And so I've got a bunch of raw video out there with, all kinds of errors, all kinds of mistakes, all kinds of crazy stuff on them. And there's literally thousands of videos. We did that because I was anti, at that point, I got anti-edit. I was like, we're not editing anything anymore.
Fantastic. And that made you relatable.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. And I tell everybody this, the YouTube from a customer standpoint, not my social media hobby, but from a customer standpoint, YouTube's it's number one. There's nothing's ever brought more customers. So guys, listen to what I'm telling you. If you don't have a YouTube channel, it's the number one thing you got to get. Yeah. All the other platforms you need, but YouTube is number one. Obviously, it's owned by Google, and that's why.
Bingo. Searchability is massive.
That's it. That's all it really is about. And everybody who doesn't go to YouTube. Yeah. I gotta reset the alarm in my car. I don't know how to. I go to YouTube. I got to do anything. You go to YouTube.
Well, and Google is intent-based searches. So when you Google something, and that now it's like a verb, but when you Google something, you are actively trying to learn about that thing. To your point, lock the keys in the car. I'm gonna Google, how do I get my keys out of this car? Google owns YouTube. So whether they're going to show you first 3 videos on how to do that. Now, it's going to choose those videos using its algorithm and all that, but if you have relevant information that YouTube deems as being relevant in terms of watch time and click through rate and all that, you're going to show up in that search no matter what, as long as you're providing good content. You know, one of our videos right now that's absolutely going through the roof, our number one external producer is Google searches on talking about it. This particular one's talking about how to fix a leaning gate or something to that effect.
Would you suggest GoPro for video on equipment? Absolutely.
I'd go with your phone first, though. I mean, you can't go live from a GoPro. Well, you can if you hook it up to a laptop and do some.
If you hook it up to your
stuff.
phone, if you hook it up to your phone, you can go live.
Yeah.
So you might as well use the phone, because what people don't really know are these cameras now. These things are so sophisticated now. They're crazy. And
they're wild. Now,
people go out and buy $3,000 cameras, and then you watch somebody take a better video with a cell phone. You know,
yes.
Did you see that? I'm not a Samsung guy. I'm an Apple guy, but that new Samsung phone, man, I saw that zoom on it, man, from 100 yards away, and we're reading a credit card in a guy's hand. I was like, wow, I got to keep my credit cards if I'm at events, tucked away. It's like insane, man. It's
Technology is absolutely crazy. Now, I'll say this, for an action camera, GoPros are fantastic. We use them when we're filming like Week in the Life and things like that. I could see GoPro being used like mounted to a surface cleaner. Some of those videos are phenomenal, or onto a wand that's cleaning a house or gutter, like whatever. You can use it. I don't want to dissuade that, but when we're talking about doing live, I really feel like live video is where it's at right now. For that, your phone's the best method.
I think I got to try that. I haven't mounted a couple phones on some surface cleaners. I think I'm gonna have to try that.
I watch some TikTok channels that's all they are, and they are massive channels.
I know, man. And that TikTok, it's become a powerful platform.
We're trying to figure
funny
it
now?
out.
YouTube's got the shorts, and now they're doing the long video.
Everyone wants what the other one has. That's the thing, is everyone, like you said, YouTube's doing shorts, which is what TikTok used to do. TikTok now, you can do a 3-minute video on it. You can also do live after you get to 1,000 subscribers or followers, but they each want what the other one has.
Yeah, and he wants to make a time lapse video. Hey,
perfect.
Start taking content, and you got the time lapse video. Then you just got to convert it.
Yep, it has a time lapse feature on it. It's really nice. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know, and that's the other thing too. Slow mo, the whole 9 yards. Speed the video up. I mean, it's funny how people don't realize this is your editor too. I mean, it's craziness.
Oh yeah. There's a niche right now of those oddly satisfying videos, and let me tell you, power washing is ready for it. Like, it was custom made for the satisfying video genre. I mean, it's like I said, there are massive TikToks of guys out there, and they're surface cleaning a driveway. It's something that they do 2, 3, 4 times a day. They're just putting a GoPro up in the air, so it has a good angle, and that's their content.
Hey, Buckeye, you want to go ahead, inbox me. You want a book, or you want any chemical of your choice? You pick the chemical. You asked a couple of questions today. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. I think, because we're in the middle of the day, Joe, it's 2:00 here in Phoenix. What are you, 5:00 right now? 4:00?
No, 4:00.
I think we're in the middle of the day. We've got a little bit of, we don't have a lot of audience. So I'm going to tell you guys this. Up until 9 p.m. pack time, we'll make it 11 p.m. Central time. You guys are asking questions. If you ask some questions in here, because I know Joe's going to follow it up.
Yep.
Anybody asks a good question, Joe follows the question up. If Joe follows the question up, I'm gonna probably put you in a drawing for one of these, or give you one of these, or anybody. I don't care how many questions are answered. If there's 100 guys out there, ask a question. We'll give 100 gallons away, chemical of your choice, all the way until 11 p.m. Central time tonight. That's a big one, Joe. Are you sure you're going to be? It might keep you busy, but I know you love answering questions. You love helping guys out.
I really do.
If they got questions, and remember, guys, these are social media. This is the guy right here We're going to put his channel on here. You guys are going to be, it's phenomenal. How many followers you got now, Joe? I mean, what are you up to?
42,000, something like that.
Yeah. And you've monetized that. That's one of the cool things you talked a little bit about, which, you know, you admit it, you're not making a living, but
Right.
but it's a heck of a, you know, it's a heck of an extra income, right?
Sure.
You know,
Sure. It's offsetting the cost. Yeah. You bet.
it's mailbox money, right? I mean, and think about it, getting paid to market your own company, your own brand. It's kind of crazy, man.
It's something that I enjoy. I mean, that's the ultimate thing, right? It's do what you love and call it a job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what we're doing.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing I always tell people. Like all the time, people try to get in this industry and I say, hey man, go out and rent some equipment first, go out and borrow some equipment, go out and do something, go out and sell a job, figure out if you like doing what you're doing. Don't buy the $90 million piece of equipment right out of the gate. You know what I mean? I go, people out there, there's haters out there that call you hacks, trust me, I know, Joe, we've all been there. I washed a house with a $10 pump up sprayer and a garden hose, not a $50,000 rig. We've all been there. We've all done that. We do what we got to do to get the job done sometimes to get paid. I mean, that's just how it goes. So do what you enjoy and find the genre of whatever it is you want to do in this industry, because man, the pressure washing industry, as Joe's found out, is so massive. It goes into wood, car detailing, truck washing, hood cleaning, bus stop. I mean, it's an amazing thing that you can do. Wood, I kind of argue with guys, and I really wish we knew some of the stats, but I probably think fleet washing is probably number one in our industry. Yeah. Then I would say hood cleaning because of so many restaurants that there are, and they've got to have it done. It's an ordinance, right?
That makes sense.
So they got to do it. But wood's got to be pressing number 3 for our industry. Sure. And then now the paver sealing craze is coming in.
Yeah.
And guys, it's at least in the top 10. At least in the top 10.
Absolutely.
And it's so crazy, guys out there. And with that said, guys, that's why if you're new in this industry, guys, if you're brand new in this industry, make sure that you come out to the TChem event, register at National Cleaning Expo. It's absolutely free. There are no gimmicks. Joe and myself are not going to try to reach into your wallet at the show. It's a completely free show. You're going to get massive amounts of education. And if you're looking for some direction, this is a great place to start. There's going to be a lot of great people there. Go look at the agenda, nationalcleaningexpo.com. You're going to see guys like Pat Clark there. Judd West is going to be there. Trudy from Panhandle is going to be there talking about the painting issues that our industry's had with using chemicals on surfaces and the paint, being destroyed. That's one thing you want to prevent. You don't want to wind up painting houses. I know contractors personally that have painted 3 or 4 houses already. You don't want to do that. You do not. To paint one house, how many house washes do you think they got to do to paint one house, Joe? 100?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
You don't want to wind up painting houses, guys. Come out to this event. It's going to have a lot of great knowledge. Joe, give me some closing statements that you want to encourage these guys to come out, and we'll close it out.
Yeah, to your point, no one's here to sell you anything. That's probably the number one comment I hear when people are talking about whether or not to come. They're like, well, I'm not here to watch a sales message or anything. I think they think that because it's free, like there's some hook involved in it. Absolutely not the case. I don't have anything to sell you. We're coming here to help you be better at what it is you do, right? Like, because Ron can tell you, we all got a hand up at some point, right? We all got that helping hand. And now we're looking to turn around and give the next guy behind us the helping hand up.
And here's the other thing, Joe. They don't realize that when you mentor others, you become better at your craft. Nobody talks about that enough. You stay sharp because the fundamentals, man, are key. And so many people, when they're in business, they stray away from the fundamental aspects of what really works. I got one last question, and then I'm going to take us out. I just cleaned a stain cabinet. No, that's not the question I wanted. How do you introduce yourself at a client's house? Let's hear the Joe Everest introduction.
Yeah, no, I mean, so if I walked up to a house, hey, I'm Joe Everest with Ozark Fence. You might have seen me in some videos. I was probably wearing this shirt, because literally I have a ton of shirts that all look the same. I was probably wearing a shirt that looks like this. I promise it wasn't this shirt. And then I just go into, I'm the third generation family owned and operated fence company, and we're here to educate you on the best fence for your project. I think that's the other key here is clients don't want to be sold. They want to buy. And there's a massive difference between the two of those.
I went on vacation, Joe, just last week, and my kids go, Dad, you haven't changed your shirt in 3 days. Their mother says, no, your dad just has all the same shirts.
Uh-huh. Hey, it makes it easy every morning.
That's funny. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Thanks, Joe, for coming out, man. I appreciate it. It's always good having you on. I love talking with you. Thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me on.
And we appreciate you being here, man. National Cleaning Expo, guys, register the TChem event, July 20, 21st, absolutely free. We're going to take this out, guys. Ron Musgraves, Contractors First, Pressure Washing